Hey, what's going on everyone? Marky here from PhoneDog.com, and shooting 4K video on your phone is now become a pretty much norm. I mean, the smartphones we have in our pockets these days basically rival and outperform cameras just a few years ago in terms of 4K video quality and abilities. I mean, for example, the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus have the ability of shooting 4K at 60 frames per second, which honestly, you'd have to pay thousands of dollars today to get that in a somewhat professional camera. The cheapest camera that comes to mind is the GH5, and that starts at a nice $2,000, where the iPhone starts at what, 700 bucks, and the iPhone 10 at $1,000. Obviously, we're not talking about the same dynamic range, any of that kind of stuff, but we're talking about just the technical abilities of shooting 4K video, or really any video on your smartphone. And then there's been a new kind of marketplace for stabilization. I mean, we already know that iPhones and other devices have optical image stabilization, and it does a pretty good job at stabilizing your video, but sometimes you need something a little bit more beefy to get the result you want, which comes to this whole thing about gimbal and stabilization. And one of the biggest brands in making things really look good and pretty is DJI, makers of those drones, but they also make something called Ronins, and a byproduct of a Ronin is this is the OSMO Mobile 2. It's the second generation of their OSMO Mobile. The first one was really successful, but very expensive. This guy starts, well, is $130. That's MSRP, retail price, currently available at Apple stores, Best Buy, and Amazon if you want to go check this thing out. But essentially, it's a basically it's a gimbal for your smartphone. It doesn't have to be an iPhone, it could be any smartphone of your choosing, but it's going to be pretty cool. I'm really excited to take a look at this. So in terms of the unboxing, you get a quick start guide and a bunch of user documents there to look at if you want. And here it is. It comes in this big foam case, which protects the gimbal. And you could just kind of open it this way. Well, I guess you should be able to open. There we go. Cool. And there it is. So this is the OSMO Mobile 2. It's essentially, again, a gimbal for a smartphone. It has a battery built in. It has, it basically can take almost any smartphone that will fit in its frame. And yeah, here we go. So first impressions overall, the build quality is okay. I mean, it's all built out of plastic. So for $130, I mean, you basically had to cut as many corners as you possibly can to get that price point. But it actually doesn't seem too bad. I mean, it's really well weighted. It's very well balanced. It feels pretty comfortable. It's kind of like this soft rubberized grip on the back to give you a little bit more grip. Looks like on the back here you have a full USB-A output. I guess this is for you to continually charge whatever smartphone you're using as you're using the gimbal. And then we have a micro USB port, and I assume that's for charging. And then you have some LEDs, a record button, a mode switch, power switch, and then I guess a joystick to maybe control the pan access and the tilt motor. Then you also have a zoom rocker on the, I guess, left of the gimbal for telephoto and wide. And then also in this, you just get a typical, very standard micro USB to USB-A cable to charge it. And that's it. For $130, you really can't expect a whole lot other than the product itself. And honestly, you don't need anything else than that. Okay, so I have my iPhone in here. I kind of did a quick little balance. We'll turn it on. And there we go. Okay, so we're on, and you can kind of see how this thing works. So right now, it's just in the normal mode. So where if I tilt up or pan up, I suppose, it will follow very slowly. And then if I twist my arm, the camera will follow. And then as you can see, the camera is the gimbal is very stable. I mean, the iPhone is not really moving a whole lot. And it's gonna look amazing coming from the iPhone camera. Now you can also click the mode switch and then lock it. So essentially now, no matter what I do, well, unless you really throw it off, it's gonna keep it level, or tries as best as it can to keep it level. So that's pretty cool. And then we can switch that back off, and now it's gonna go back to follow me mode. So you can do this as a selfie setup, so you can kind of do this thing, and you know, it's gonna look a little weird. It is a heavier setup. Obviously, it's just not your iPhone anymore. It's an iPhone plus an entire gimbal. But in terms of a mobile to go setup, this thing is pretty hard to beat because, I mean, if you don't need the gimbal, you still have an iPhone or whatever phone you're using, but when you need that extra bit of stabilization or cinematics, you can turn this thing on, and here we go. It's a cheap $130 little setup. I definitely am looking forward to play with this and just record as much video as I possibly can and just kind of get a feel for, I mean, for $130, I mean, it may be just worth it just to mess around with, but it might be a real tool for, you know, iPhone cinematographers or just phone cinematographers out there. If you have a Pixel 2 and you want to do some cinematography on your device, this may be an excellent device for you to have in your bag. So if you are interested in seeing a full review of the Osmo Mobile 2, make sure to go crazy on that like button and leave me a comment of what content you want me to cover in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed this little unboxing and first look at the Osmo Mobile 2. It's been out for a little bit, but it's been kind of hard for me to find. It's just gotten stock into the Apple Store, so I'm super excited that I was able to pick this thing up. But again, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more content. And as always, my name is Marco Hanna, and I'll catch you guys in my next video.